Hi, I'm Kevin, your energy-wise Tai Chi mechanic from the awareness.website. We've got number 3 of our 5 principle series of videos here for you. This is on squaring the hips, and I like to think of it as facing what's in front of you. And be sure to stay to the very end so you don't miss memories of Mr. Moy. Here we are with video 3 in the series of the 5 principles. This one is on squaring the hips. So again, building on the other ones, you got the 45-degree angle step, not letting the knee go over the toe, and as you're getting that balance, you're going to square the hips, or what I like to call facing what's in front of you. So as you move forward from the back leg to the front leg, you're going to want to get the hips to square forward so that you can get centered again over that front foot. So I'll show you a few different examples here. So you got your 45-degree angle. Now as you come forward, you don't want to let the knee push forward. You want this leg to push up, and as you push up and the arms go forward, it just automatically starts to allow your body to rotate and turn forward. Now at this point, as I just relax into the front leg, I'm going to let my hips just settle down and square to the front. So over this front toe, I want my hips to be square and my shoulders to be square with my hips. So this allows me to face forward to the front so that my arms are balanced in front of me and my spine is straight, as opposed to trying to come forward without the hips. So if my arms are pushing forward and my hips don't come square, now my spine is twisted. So you want the hips to come square so that the body can be balanced in front and it can relax into that front leg. Now the same goes for moving backwards. Quite often what happens for people is when they come back, they will push the hip out. You get your hip jutting out here. And this is not good. So now my lower spine is twisted and my leg is straining. My hip joint is all kind of bound up. So when you're square to the front here, so you want your hips to come square. When you're forward, by the same token, when you come back, you want the body to settle down into the back leg, but at the angle of that 45 degrees. So your body's going to go through this rotation of 45 degrees to the front, and then it's going to come back, and you want the hips to sit down in line with that 45-degree angle. So you want your hips squared to that 45-degree angle and going square to the front. Now that does not mean that you swing the hip forward. Okay, this isn't the Elvis move. All right, you want the leg to push, straighten up, and then just allow the body to settle into the front. So you're not really doing anything with the hips. So when I say square the hips, it's not that you're going to think, oh, I'm going to square my hips forward. You want to allow the hips to relax and square forward to this angle, and to relax and square to the 45 degrees. So again, don't force it. Watch for getting things out of line. If it's uncomfortable, there's probably a reason. If you've got a lot of tightness in the lower back, this will really help to stretch and get it to move and relax in the lower sacral type areas. So this turning forward allows it to stretch sideways, and by extending out allows it to stretch in a linear manner. And so keeping it very relaxed, very balanced, really helps to work that area. But as soon as you start swinging the hips forward and back, then you start to be twisting and straining those muscle systems, and it's not a good thing. So you just want to pay attention to that. all the moves should be nice and relaxed and balanced. So that's squaring the hips and facing what's in front of you. And now, memories of Mr. Moy. I remember one time where Mr. Moy had come to Edmonton for a workshop, and then I had gone from Calgary up to Edmonton for this workshop. And it was a great workshop. We worked on lots of stuff, had lots of fun, we were doing lots of crazy stuff. And usually at the end of a workshop, so on the last day, Mr. Moy would get ready to leave and he would put on his suit and tie. And now Mr. Moy, when he traveled, he said, when you travel, you should dress nice. So Mr. Moy owned his Tai Chi clothes and a shaving kit and a toothbrush and a suit and tie for traveling, and that was about it. So when he put on his suit and tie, you knew it was time Mr. Moy was getting ready to leave, and so everybody come around and everybody was saying their goodbyes. But on this particular occasion, he had pointed to a few of us and said, do some rolls. Show them how to do some rolls. And so there's myself and a few other people. We were doing rolls, so up and down the club. We were doing forward rolls and back rolls and stuff. And then he says, do some headstands. And so there we are, we're getting down, standing on our heads and standing up, and getting our feet up in the air. And Mr. Moy's watching me and the others, and he says to his translator something, and the translator says, well, Mr. Moy says, not like that, he'll show you. So he kind of comes over and gets down on his, first he takes off his suit jacket. So here's Mr. Moy going to do headstands in his suit and tie. So he takes off his jacket, and he gets down, puts his hands on the floor, and then he just sort of curls forward, puts his head down on the floor, and then his body just sort of starts to straighten up. And to the point that his spine straightens up, and his toes are just back behind him touching the floor, and his legs are straight. And then all of a sudden his legs just sort of started lifting up off the floor. And it was like effortless, and you could almost see this energy going through his body that would move his legs up, and he just sort of stood there with his legs out level for a little bit, standing on his head, and then all of a sudden his legs started going up in the air till the point where he was straight up and down on his head, and he just sort of stood there for a few seconds, and I don't know how long it was, but it was amazing to watch. And then of course his feet come down, and then he sort of sits up and he says, you understand? I said, well, not really, but I'll work on it. and you know, so over the years, and you know, that sort of gave me another example of how the energy moves in his body, and going back to another example where he was demonstrating his energy moving, where his body was expressing this energy. And over the years I've come to experience that, you know, with that energy expressing through my body. And I don't know, at that point I couldn't get my legs to do it, but we're still working on it. So it's coming along. So we'll see you later.